During my adult life, there has only been one standout race beyond any other, and it happened many years before I took up running as a hobby. The story began way back in my teenage years when I thought that a healthier weekend was not drinking until I was sick, and the only exercise I got was solely restricted to isolated right forearm training. During this time period, my twin brother and arch nemesis, Scott Hare, joined the Navy, where he was exposed to other forms of exercise that actually involved going outside. Upon returning for the Navy, he told me about how he completed the Navy fitness test, in part which included him running a 1.5 mile run in under 11 minutes. I can't remember exactly how the next part of the conversation went, but before long, our young and fragile egos had convinced us that we needed to race the 1.5 miles to see who was fastest. A few days later, the race was mapped out, and we'd start from here, at this bus stop, and go out over a slight overall downhill to the finish line here at Jock Hughes Brae. At the start line, it's fair to say that I felt quite a lot of unfounded confidence. Despite years of smoking, drinking and generally healthy on living, I'd always been slightly taller and, more importantly, 10 full minutes older than Scott. With basically zero running experience, I took off at what felt like a moderate pace. After 300 metres or so, I looked back and saw my brother a good 20 metres behind me, and my unfounded confidence grew. Unfortunately for me, it wouldn't last. Over the next mile, my breathing became laboured, my legs grew heavier, until finally, just before the last corner, a stitch kicked in and I was forced to walk, being overtaken by Scott in the process. After a minute or so of walking, I managed a sprint finish, but it wasn't enough. In the end, I finished with a time of 12:02 and Scott finished in around 11 minutes something. I don't remember his exact time because I was too focused on the overwhelming sense of humiliation. But now the time has come to redeem myself and set a time that my teenage self can be proud of. As we set off and I make my way out of Mauchline, let's set some goals for today. We're going to go a bronze goal of a sub 12:02, beat my old time, and make sure that I haven't gone backwards as a bare minimum. Silver is going to be sub 11. Scott went 11 minutes something, so if we can go sub 11, I've assured I've beat him and set a new course record. And my gold goal is going to be sub 10. Having recently remeasured this course, it actually comes in a bit short of 1.5 miles, but I'll still need to be averaging just over 4 minutes per kilometre to have any chance of going sub 10. Given that my fastest ever 5k averaged 4:22 per kilometre, and that's going to take some doing, but if I do make it, that will prove that I'm returning to some pretty decent form. Right, so let's have a look at the course map. The first kilometre out to Ballochmyle golf course is almost entirely flat or downhill, apart from that small hill that I've just come up. I'll be looking for the first kilometre split to be just over 4 minutes. Then I'm round the first corner and up another tiny climb past the gates of Ballochmyle itself before I settle into the Pain Cave for the final kilometre all the way down to Jock Hughes Brae. There will be one further minuscule uphill just before the last bend, which may not seem like much, but it is the hill that I died on all those years ago. Today I'm running in my Asics Noosa Tri-15s. I bought these as an upgrade to my Reebok Energy Float Ride 5s, which I absolutely loved, and at twice the price the Tri-15s are supposed to give me a serious speed injection. I still have to achieve a personal best at any distance in these. Let's hope we can change that today. And we hit the first kilometre in a split of 4 minutes and 28 seconds as we get up here to Ballochmyle Golf Course. It's no terrible going, but it's no gold pace. It's probably put me bang on about 11 minutes for the 2.4 kilometres that I've got to do in total. So once I get up this hill here, I'm going to have to really kick on with some pace if I want to go sub 10 today. In my last video, I mentioned that it's come as a surprise to me that I'm slower than I was in April. Well, it's no longer a surprise. I weighed myself this week and I'm very nearly 5 kilograms heavier than I was in April. Like most people would, I assumed that as I was lifting weights 3 to 4 days a week and averaging 40 kilometres per week running over the summer, I could eat as much as I liked and my performance would still be on the up. And whilst I'm definitely the strongest I've ever been, that doesn't necessarily translate to speed when you're carrying an extra one of these in your back. I'd love to say that I've put on 5 kilograms of muscle, but all those summertime takeaways and ice creams means it's probably more like 1 kilogram of muscle and 4 kilograms of my wee chubby belly returning. So, if I'm going to get faster, I'm going to have to shed that dumbbell. However, it is a pretty difficult time of year to be going on a diet. Last week I filled a bucket of sweets in preparation for our neighbourhood kids' Halloween, and then I had to refill the bucket after spending 4 days decimating it following a few tough days at work. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's also not hard to see why I've struggled to remain as lean as I could be. It's not because I haven't exercised or because I've bad genetics and an inactive thyroid. It's because I can't stop ramming sweets into my mouth hole. And I'm sure with Christmas coming up, dieting will be a breeze. And look at this, not even 8.5 minutes gone and Stephen has already made it to the tiny hill of doom where the arse fell out his race all those years ago, but he's still going strong. The breathing is getting very heavy now, but there is not much to go. As soon as we're up this little hill, we're round the corner and we're just going to hammer it down the hill. Psychologically, all the hardest bit's been done. I have got faith in you, Stephen. Let's go! And with barely 30 seconds on the clock now, we can see the finish line. Stephen's just got to keep those legs moving. This is the one chance to put 2 decades of defeat behind me. All I've got to do is forget about how much pain I'm in, forget about how much I can't breathe, and just dig deep. Let's listen to Stephen take this over the line. And I've only bloody gone and done it with an unbelievable time in 9:55. That is no less than a gold medal for me. I've never been physically attracted to a man before, but that dominant performance for Stephen here has left me hot, bothered, and very confused.
Yes.
I'd like to take this opportunity to formally throw down the gauntlet to Scott here. Whenever you're ready to come and race me in this course, I am ready to make you look like a daft wee lassie. That'll no be for a few weeks though. I've got a couple of races lined up. Spent the last couple of weeks racing against, well, no people, just my own ego, but I will actually be racing against real people over the next couple of weeks, and then potentially Scott, you never know. You need to find out next time in Run Steve Run.